Welcome, guys, to Balls Deep UFC, Episode 9. We're going to interview Alex Perez, 6th ranked flyweight, our first ever ranked fighter. It's kind of unbelievable that we're here. He's 25-9 in his professional MMA career, and he's Balls Deep's favorite fighter on the roster, easily. Alex, I was telling you earlier, you're our first pick. You're our first big main event pick, and we got you right. You got us right. And ever since then, throughout our entire podcast, every other episode, we'll ask, Alex Perez, if you're watching this, please come on our show. We'll say that. And now we finally have you here. It's pretty awesome to have you.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you guys having me, man. And like I said, thanks for the support, man. It really means a lot.
Of course, dude. Of course. And I wanted to talk to you. Obviously, we were talking a little bit just now about the recovery, and you've been nothing but a warrior through it all, like on social media and everything. But how are you doing? How's it going?
Good, man. So I had ACL reconstruction surgery and a meniscus repair. And I live part-time in California, part-time in Vegas. But I've been on Vegas since I got surgery, and just kind of best place to be with the UFC PI and the UFC medical staff. I mean, those guys are awesome. I mean, I'm going twice a day, so I'm doing 10 sessions a week, and then on weekends I'm doing stuff myself. They give me workouts to do, you know what I mean? And then I do my strength and conditioning out here, being able to start lifting. So with, Alex, he's out there. He's been my strength and conditioning coach out here for the last year that I've been here. It's just awesome to be here. Awesome to have those people around you and the resources that, at the highest level. So, I'm grateful for that.
Definitely. Talking about highest level, a special thing about your career is you've been there with the highest level of competition. You lost to current or former champions, and it's kind of absurd. Losses to Davison Figueiredo, who's now moved on to a higher weight class, but was a champ for a long time. Pantoja. Do you think that kind of having that experience gives you an upper hand going into the future with a lot of these younger guys kind of on the rise?
Yeah, I mean, being up there with those guys, I felt them. Obviously those fights didn't go my way, but honestly, I've been able to compete with those guys and those guys, just in general. And some of the guys I train with too, like Ricky Simone, Mateusz Nicola. Now he actually trains at my gym in California at Team Oyama. So training with him, Cody Garbrandt, Odell Osborne, all these guys, all these UFC guys, being able to figure out where I'm at, it's always a good thing. And like I said, I feel like my experience is, I have 31 fights, 34 in total through amateurs. So just that experience being there, done that kind of thing, it definitely helps out a lot.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the gym. You're at a great gym, and now apparently a lot of big UFC names are fighting there, like Odell Osborne, who just fought at the Sphere. Do you think that's helping you at all, through the recovery, having these high-level guys, keeping you motivated to get back into it?
Yeah, one big thing I like to do is coach. I wouldn't even consider myself a coach, right? But I'm a training partner mostly, and then they ask me to corner them. So I'll be cornering some of these guys, cornering Odell Osborne at the Sphere is one of, the most craziest experience just because it was the Sphere, right? And just being there, for a guy, and I didn't know that I was mic'd up. I mean, I knew I was mic'd up, but I didn't know that people can hear everything I was saying. So I dropped a couple F-bombs,
Oh man.
But it wasn't too bad. Cornering Cody, cornering Carla, I've helped her get back to a UFC title. I was a wrestling coach for 6-7 years. Cornering Chito Vera, Ricky Simone, guys like that, and cornering up and comers guys in the amateur ranks. We got this kid up and coming named Mikey Brown. He's fighting in next week, for 5-9 fights. So cornering those guys, just seeing how motivated these guys are, definitely puts the motivation in me, I guess. But too, just makes me want to come back that much quicker. But obviously, I'm still doing what I can. So it's definitely a motivational part. I can definitely see why athletes that don't have other things going on, I have my business, I have my son, I'm also cornering guys, so I have a lot going on where I can see where a lot of guys just have fighting or just have a job in general get up get depressed, because this is a long recovery. It's not one where you're 8 weeks and you get surgery. No, this is 8 months to almost a year process. So I'm grateful to have those guys wanting me to help them.
And the coaching thing's interesting. Obviously, big fighters like Diego Lopez and a lot of other fighters are getting into other fighters' corners, especially being injured. I think that's a great move and good idea just for you, to kind of get those mental reps. Obviously in any sport, I'm an athlete, I play lacrosse, and you're coaching. Coaching, you learn off others' mistakes, and just like if you're explaining it, you're kind of relearning it yourself. So I mean, you already have the athleticism, so I'm sure coaching has helped you a lot, kind of the recovery mentally rather than just physically. Before your
Yeah,
fight,
it definitely helps.
oh really? Like, in what way do you think it's helped so far?
I mean, I started coaching when I was actually a freshman in high school. Actually, my manager now, Jeremy Lucha, I coached his son in wrestling. His son was 4 years old, and I was in high school. I started
Wow.
coaching, you know, kids just because I actually didn't want to be home. I was like, "Fuck, I don't want to go home, like I'm gonna stay wrestle, do wrestling practice, help coach the youth, and I kind of got into coaching like that. So it always helps just getting those reps right, and then when you're explaining a move, right, you try and do it explain it the best you can, show the technique the best you can, so you kind of correct your mistakes, you like the bad habits you have just by doing those reps. So I mean that's why I feel like that's the biggest impact that coaching has helped me in my personal gain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely have seen it on and off the field, like, or on in and out of the ring. Like, you see guys kind of come back after coaching other fighters, and they kind of just seem a little more technical in their style of fighting. I wanted to ask you about your obviously before your fight with Tetsuro Taira, you were planning on fighting Tajir Ulanbekov. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but moving on, like, forward, like with your recovery and stuff, is that still a fight that you'd want to see, or where's your head at with that?
We'll just see what the UFC gives me, man. I'm not too picky. Like I said, like I was ranked number 5 right after knocking out Nikolai, and I fought the number whatever ranked guy, can in Tarsuro. So for me, it's not like eventually I'm meant to fight all these guys.
Right.
I always tell people I don't get paid for sitting on the couch. I get paid to fight. So, whatever the UFC wants me to do, it'll be there. But like I said, I'm gonna take my time before I get back in there and kind of go from there.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we're seeing a lot of other fighters, like Sugar Sean just announced that he got injured with his hip. A lot of fighters are kind of taking their rest rather than kind of rushing back into something. He said he was going to be out for like 9 months. You're going to be out for a while, and it's the smart move. You really don't want to get back in there, rush too quickly, and then get dropped. And now you're ranked ninth. Now you're ranked 10th. You're just kind of lose that for yourself.
Yeah.
But it's very exciting to see when you come back. There's a lot of new names. There's a lot of guys looking for fights, especially in the weight class that you're in. I feel like you win one fight and you get the title shot. I mean, you saw Steve Erceg get
Yeah,
that.
smaller weight class, right? So we get, you win a couple good fights, you're right there for the title shot. So I mean, like I'm ranked in top 10, so one or two good one or two good performances, I'm right in there.
Right.
So I'm not too worried about my positioning in the division. Like I'm just focusing on watching film on these guys, like watching their fights. Like kind of breaking them down already. Just in general, that's what I do for fun. I'm a fighting nerd. And yeah, just kind of doing that. So like I said, 1 2 fights in the division get you right into a title picture.
Yeah, definitely. Is that what you're doing a lot of time? Like, you're just watching film of other fighters
I
nowadays?
watch film. I have people hit me up about breakdowns of what I think about certain guys. Like I'll break down things. I have people ask me questions about like like, oh, what do you think about this game plan for this guy? And all. I have to watch film. I just in general just like prefer watching. I like watching film. I like watching kickboxing, boxing, like you name it. I'm watching everything. Gives me something to do this in my life. You know what I mean? To how pay my bills. So for me, it's like I want to be all in 100%. Like fighting only lasts for X amount of time. So might as well try to get good at it.
So obviously the weight class is looking more and more stacked. It's a smaller weight class, so more guys are kind of joining that roster. But you as a fighter, what do you still bring to the table that could get you to the top again?
Just my style, man. I'm always going forward. You know what I mean? Either gonna finish someone or they're gonna finish me. That's kind of the way style. Kind of, I bite down my mouthpiece and go to fight every time. And you know what I mean? I think that's why I've been kept around for so long, just because of that. Our division is small. I think guys get cut after X amount of fights. I mean, I feel like I'm one of the more exciting guys in the division. So I mean, always looking for the finish, always going forward, kind of style, and I think that's why they keep me around. That's why they like me so much.
In that Nicolau fight, you had this like burst combo type thing that you were pushing a lot throughout the fight. Is that something you picked up after a loss? Like I know Pantoja does that a lot. Is that something you just kind of picked up, or were you always doing that?
Dude, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh,
Honestly,
really?
it's kind of just autopilot. Like it's not like the way I train, the way I fight. A lot of stuff's autopilot. Like
Sure.
where I feel like a lot of coaching nowadays is one style fits all, and that's not the case with the way we train at Team Oyama. We're all different bodies, types, strengths. Whether it's wrestling, strong, short, tall. We all have different styles. So like, kind of just it's more reaction stuff. So. Like when people tell me that I did something, I'm fine. I'm like, oh shit, did I? Like, it's not like we just kind of just do it. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things. We practice it. We kind of do it. We practice it for X amount of time, 8 weeks at a time, right? So it builds into your head, and then it just goes out there and happens. But yeah, honestly, half the time, 90% of the time, I'm going like autopilot.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, especially I feel like the adrenaline in there is so like unfathomable for like me to even think about. I'm sure most of it probably is autopilot. You're just kind of swinging in there. You're just doing what you've been trained. It's all muscle memory stuff. I remember now what I was going to ask you. Like going into that Nicolau fight, you were the underdog. I remember that. And does that kind of like throw you off? Because it seemed you. I mean, you obviously fought confidently to the point where you knocked him out. But what's your mindset when you see like? Do you ever look at like the odds of a fight?
Nah, I can care less. Like for me, it's all about I get confidence from the way I train. Like, you know what I mean? Like Ode just fought, right, and I was confident we were gonna win that fight. He did everything right. I do everything right. You can't control the outcome, right? You want to control what you do up to that fight. So that's where I get my confidence from. A lot of people are like, oh, like look at that stuff, look at social media. Like, man, I can care less.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Especially like where you're at. I feel like social media in today's UFC is so all over the place. Everyone, I mean, like myself, is trying to start a page and like cover it and like, oh, what did this fighter say? What did that fighter say? And I feel like the fighters they could really care less.
Yeah, I mean, some guy I've seen people like mess with their head. I've seen people not. Like, it just all depends on the person. I always tell myself, I got a small circle of friends. Their opinion matters. What other people think, I can care less. Like, I don't let negative things affect my positive world. You know what I mean? Like, as long as my family knows who I am, my friends know who I am, they believe in me. That's all I need, really. I don't need like, I don't need people like to tell me I'm like good or like, hey, we believe in you. Like, oh, great. I love the support. Don't get me wrong, but those people that tell you they believe in you one minute can turn on you the next. Where your family and your friends are always gonna have your back. That's kind of one of the things I've learned. I've been doing this sport since 2010. You know, so I've been in it for a minute. I've seen a lot of waves of guys. Like you're only as good as your last fight. That's what everybody says, right? Like look at Leon. He was the
Right.
man. Once Bilal beat him,
Izzy too.
You have people go off on those guys on social media. Your friends are gonna do that. You know what I mean? Like your supporters. Some will, some won't. Like, oh, he's washed up. It's time to, it's just one of those things. For me, I never really care what people think.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Especially, it's a tough system that they got. Where you're right, if you lose one fight, everyone kind of turns on you. That's kind of tough, and it's very interesting to see. Like, obviously, you are kind of like people would say like you got hurt. It's tough. You're in a down spot, but it's all about your mental. You're a fighter. You're an athlete. You have the power. Like, it's very interesting to see. Like, and I've kind of always that's kind of what I do with these interviews is I'm trying to see like your mentality. I'm trying to get your mentality because obviously like you get paid to fist fight. Like I could never do that, and you love it. It's your favorite thing in the world. When you book a fight, you have this guy. What's your first step like in action?
For me, honestly, like obviously, like so one good thing, like people always say, you don't need a manager. One good thing is you have a manager there. Second thing is once I book a fight, like I mean, because I feel I can beat everybody in the world, right? Even Pantoja, he beat me once. I was like, fuck, I can beat him 9 out of 10 times. You know what I mean? Who knows if that's true or not?
Right.
But that's you. Sometimes your manager's got to save you from yourself. So I always rely on my management to help me make the best decision. And then from there, once you sign the contract, like, yeah, I can beat this guy. And then all of a sudden, like, I see the cards, like, shit, this guy's really good. This guy can do this, this, and this. Kind of breaks down. I get nervous, but my nerves go away more and more as I train into training camp because all the preparation I've done. So for me, it's kind of one of those steps. Like, especially being a bigger 25er, like first I'd always check my weight, like damn, it's gonna be a cut, kind of thing, or it got me like I'm gonna have to make sure I'm strict on my diet, stuff like that, things like that. So like for me, as soon as it's on the contract, my training camp starts, or even if I hear rumors of my manager telling me like, hey, you might have a fight coming up, like or again too, they're like these guys, I'm already starting as soon as I fight. I don't wait to sign the contract.
Right. Right. What have you ever had a fighter like we were talking earlier about like getting in your head, like talking shit about something that's like not really relevant? Have you ever had like I know like Cape, like Mano Cape is like a big like shit talker. He's kind of gets it personal. Have you ever had someone kind of like say something that You didn't really mess with?
Manel's the one. Actually, me and Manel was supposed to fight. He was talking shit. For me, like I'm like where I grew up. Everybody thinks I'm from Orange County because I trained Team Oyama, but I'm not from Orange County, man. I'm from a small town, and usually when you talk shit, it's gonna be in person, and usually when you talk shit in person, it's going down, right? Um, when people talk shit online, I can care less. Like I had Cody Durden talk shit to me, like when I was like still on the sidelines, uh, recovering from injury. I'm like, bro, you didn't see when I seen you in person, you didn't tell me nothing.
Right.
He's like, well, let's fight, blah blah. I'm like, man, you already know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna say yes, you're gonna say yes. Hit up the matchmaker and ask him, like, why are you doing this on social media? It makes no sense. But when I see people, like, not just him, like when I see people just in general, right? Like they're cool, man. They're cool. I understand you're selling the sport. Like I don't mind it. I'm like I said, I started fighting in 2010. There was no Facebook was barely popping. There was no Instagram, no Twitter. I'm not a big guy to talk shit online. Like if I'm gonna talk shit to you, talk shit to you. I'm never gonna disrespect anybody in person until I get disrespected. That's the way I was raised. You know what I mean? Like, but if you want to talk shit to me, then that's a whole different story. You disrespect me, like if I'm with my son, you disrespect me. It's a whole different story. But you know, talk shit online, talk your shit online. I can care less. I'm not worried about the fuck that what people say. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about the online media, all that stuff. Like that's why my following's not so big because I'm horrible at social media. Fucking suck at it. Cody's been trying to get me on there, but like for me, like I don't. I'm a very personal person. All you're gonna see is my son, right? That's the best thing in the world for me. So you can see my son. You're gonna see fights coming up and some training. That's it. Like you're not gonna see more into my life, more into my world, not because anything just because I feel like that's my personal life. I need to have a personal life and I have a work life. And
Yeah.
a lot of guys mix everything in together, and it's good for them. Sometimes it's bad for them. For me, it's like I'd rather separate everything. So for me, when people talk shit to me, it's like, man, I can care less. Like say it to my face, then it's a different problem. But if we're doing this online, like get out of here. You're trying to make money. I understand.
Well, it's tough when like Sean Strickland's all out public, and then a guy will bring up like that his dad used to beat him. Like, you don't want that to be like you don't want to hear that. Like that is super tough shit talk. Like he made it too personal. He put that out there, and now he's kind of getting it back, and he reacts in a very emotional
But
way.
someone like Sean, like I don't know Sean personally, right? I don't know what he's been through. Like I've seen some stuff, but you also talk a lot of shit about people. Like you know what I mean? Like you're gonna get back what you
Right.
get back. You can push people to
Right.
that point, whether you're signing a fight or not. You know what I mean? That's my personal opinion. Like as soon as you start, especially as a grown man, as soon as you start talking shit about another grown man, it's the floodgates to open everything up. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh, we're like high school kid. No, like no, he's a grown man. I'm gonna talk shit to you because you know why? Because this guy, whether you beat him or not, is gonna fight you.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? So for me, like, hey, if you want to open that floodgate of this, then be prepared of what's coming up. You know what I mean? Like, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Don't be and, like be prepared of what's coming up. Like, don't be. You know what I mean? You can't
Right.
talk
If
shit
you
and
can
not
dish it
expect
out, you
nothing
got to be able to
bad.
take it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it sucks. Like I said, it's probably not the best thing to bring up, but hey, man, some people don't know how to talk shit. They're gonna be like, "Fuck, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
Low blow hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna stab your ass. A couple times.
Yeah.
Fuck,
Yeah.
it happens."
So I wanted to talk to you. Obviously, you have this very experienced record against a lot of fighters. Your next fight could be a rematch, or your next time around at the belt could be a rematch if it's still Pantoja. Does that motivate you, like getting that one back, like losing to someone, and now you have an opportunity to fight them again?
Man, I can tell you everybody I've lost to on paper,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean. That I'm an athlete. I'm a competitor, right? I can tell you I lost to. First one was Edgar Diaz. I got that one back. Lost to John McAlooey. He just fought. Who did he fight? Not Bryce Mitch. He fought Meredith. Bryce Meredith.
Okay.
And Bellator. Uh, I can tell you I lost to Jared Papazian. He retired. Adam Antolin. I never got a rematch with him. He was on the Ultimate Fighter. Didn't get shot. I lost to Joe Benavidez. He's retired. Uh, Davidson's up a division. Pantoja is the champ right now, right? And Tatsuro, right? I think I'm missing one other person, maybe, but those are, there's eight. I think that's eight of them. You know what I mean?
It's like your kill
Um,
list.
you know what I mean? I want to get all those back. Like
Yeah.
even the guys that don't even fight in the UFC, just because that's a competitor. It motivates me. Like I always tell people this: the UFC belt is always the goal, right? Here in the UFC, but the biggest motivation for me is being able to buy my house with the UFC money, right? Being able to have stuff and properties and investments for the UFC. Being UFC champ is great. It's amazing. It'll be an amazing feeling, right? Like I can accomplish everything, but at the end of the day, it's just a participation medal.
Right.
The pound for pound list is a participation, right? You're gonna like John Jones is the pound for pound best. What's gonna happen when we retire? There's a new pound for pound, and guess what? When that guy retires, new pound for pound. Guess when that it's just participation medal. The things like my house, not being in debt, stuff like that is what motivates me to keep winning, keep pushing, right? Giving my son things that I didn't have, things like that. That's what motivates me. The title motivates me, right? It's right underneath all that other stuff. But like I said, like my livelihood and then UFC titles right there. I mean, that would be great to touch the mountain, get a UFC title, be the first person from the Central Valley to get one. We've had Joe Soto fight for a title. We had Chad Mendes fight for a title, right? I myself be one of
Yeah.
the first guys to fight for a UFC title and win it. That'd be like cherry on top, right? But like I said, at the end of the day, it's about my livelihood. Like the UFC, I want the UFC to pay for my housing, have my son's college fund, things like that. So that's the biggest motive. That's what motivates me the most.
Well, that's interesting. Obviously people forget like this isn't like it's a sport, obviously, but this is your like job. Like and like
Yeah.
people really forget that. Like I get it. Like obviously, like and you're right. Like getting the championship belt would be nice, but you got to pay your mortgage. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're going for that fight bonus, not because it's cool, but because it's $50,000 extra. Like you need that
Oh.
kind of thing, and that's just a thing I think people forget. Like people need
Yeah.
to take a step back and like really like remember that you guys are people.
Yeah. People don't understand that part of it. Like we get paid to fight, right? People like we make great money. You can go see what we made, right? But at the same time too, like how many months didn't you fight for? How many back bills you have to pay? Stuff like that. And I'm lucky and fortunate enough to have my acai business out in Orange County that helps me live. Right, I'm buying a house. I'm doing all this stuff. Like not too many people get that opportunity to do it. Whether it's a real job or a fake, like a real job or I call it a fake job, where like we're fighting. You know what I mean? Like not too many people get that opportunity. So it's like I'm blessed to be in the position I'm in.
I know I've been talking to you for a long time. I did want to ask you real quick though about your son. Obviously, like, do you think it means a lot to him that you're a fighter? That that you're kind of like the epitome of like a man. Like you're fighting. Like you don't talk shit. You put your head down, you work, and you fight. Like win or lose, do you think like he looks up to you like in that way?
Yeah, I mean, he's young. He'll be 4 coming up in February. But I think my biggest job as a dad is showing my son that like how to be a man's man, right? Like not Sean Strickland's man, where he's talks all this shit, does
Right,
everything. Like,
macho.
yeah, like, hey, I feel like I'm a man's man. When I have hard conversations, not on the phone, face to face, right? I work my ass off. I've worked for everything I've gone. Not saying Sean hasn't worked for his everything out, but you know what I mean. Like I work for everything I've gone. Um, I'm not a person to talk shit to anybody. I kind of just mind my own business, get to work. I'm very respectful. Even like for example, like Manel talked a lot of shit after I pulled out of the fight. Blah blah. Like everything's blowing up. Blah blah. You know what I mean? Even when I was at the PI, I had my son with them. I still made him shake Manel's hand, right? Because he didn't say it to my face. He didn't do anything to me. He didn't say anything to my face, right? If you disrespect me face to face, it'd be different. He didn't do that. You know what I mean? He shook my son's hand, shook my hand, and that's it. Um, that's my biggest goal for my son. Show him how to be his man's man. I think like fighting is definitely like he definitely enjoys watching me on TV. He see me. His mom sent me a video of him watching me corner O Day. He's all pumped up. When he watches me fight, they send me videos. He's been a couple of the fights, so he loves it. He loves the fight game. He loves everything that comes with it. Obviously he's too young to understand, but he will in the future. Why I'm doing this, why I spend time away from him, why I do all this. So that's my biggest goal. Is like he'll appreciate it later on, obviously like when he starts understanding stuff. But yeah, that's my biggest goal, to show him how to be a man's man, be an honest person, a hardworking guy, a guy that can work for whatever he got. I had a lot growing up. Mom did a great job. There's 9 of us. I'm the second oldest of 9. My mom did a fucking awesome job. We all had opportunities to go to college. We had more than what we wanted, more than some of my friends had. Everything. No, my job is to instill the hard work and give them more. Not just give him everything that I didn't have, but instill the hard work, show him how to be a man and work for what he wants.
A lot of fighters train their sons. Would you ever want your son to be a fighter?
I mean, he's gonna fight for sure. He's already wrestling. He's shadow boxing. Like he
Yeah,
goes to the
yeah.
gym. He loves it. Um, like when he wrestles, I really don't want to coach him too much. You know what I mean? I go out here to Gold Rush Wrestling. With Chase Pammy, they have 3-year-olds. I'm gonna let them go in there, like let them coach. I've coached with dads that coach their sons from the start to high school, all the way to high school, and then when they're in college, they kind of go off. And I've seen how their relationship, not because they're doing it for a bad spot. I mean, they're doing what they think is best, and good or bad, like it's hard. I mean, it's a hard gig to be someone's dad and be someone's coach, right? There's people that can do it, some people that can't. I've seen the two guys that I've seen do it. They've had their ups and downs, but they're very good dads, very good coaches. You know what I mean? And they've kind of brought back everything together. You know what I mean? They've had their battles in the room and stuff. But for me, man, I just want to enjoy my son. I want him to coach. I want whoever's coaching him to coach him, and just have a good time. You know what I mean? I don't really don't want to coach him too much. If he starts fighting, we'll see. But even then, it's like, man, do your thing. We gotta separate like house house stuff from gym stuff and work stuff.
Yeah, totally. All right, Alex, my last question for you is, when is the return date?
Man, I don't know, man. I'm not trying to push it. I'm a little ahead of schedule, but still, the UFCPI, the physical therapy team, or like want to hold me back a little bit just because I'm like I can feel good right now and do something stupid and get re-injured. So it's on them. This saying from the time I got surgery to by the time I get cleared to train, probably 8 months. So I got June. I fought June 15th. I got surgery at the end of June.
Sure.
So it's been about 8 months around from there to get back to training. Obviously, I'm probably to take some time to get back into shape, like fighting shape, getting training. So probably, hopefully, by the end of next year, mid of next year, I know they're gonna do. What I heard that they're gonna do UFC Noche in Guadalajara. I would love to fight out there because I have my dad lives out there and family and friends and
Wow.
all them live out there. So if they do that, that'll be a card I would definitely be shooting for. But no rush. Like I said, I gotta take my time with this because I don't want to
Definitely.
come back too early and get injured.
That would suck. Yeah, definitely take your time. I mean, you're in no rush. You're the number 6 spot. You're in a good spot. You're going to get a good fight. I'm very excited for it, Alex, really.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, dude.